As part of our 2022 kickoff, today we're dusting off a top secret personnel file and taking a look at the most popular and yet arguably the most mysterious of the G.I. Joes. We'll take a look at what the Black World has not redacted in his file as we talk about the history and the origin of Snake Eyes. First, thanks for watching JLS Comics. Hit that subscribe button so you can keep up with all of our weekly content. And with that out of the way, let's jump right into our story. This may come as a surprise, but Snake Eyes was not always silent. Before joining the Joes, Snake Eyes was in the U.S. Army. Before that, he lived in a small town in suburban America with his parents and a twin sister, where he worked at a gas station mechanic shop before enlisting. And before Snake Eyes left for the army, he told his father he'd only need luck, and his dad replied that eventually luck runs out and all you're left with is Snake Eyes. And from that moment on, that became his code name. So what is Snake Eyes' real name? Well, we'll probably never know, and in fact it was creator and comic book writer Larry Hama who said that he never came up with a real name for Snake Eyes. Better to keep the mystery in my own head, he said. So through the Army, Snake Eyes took basic training on Tank Hill at Fort Jackson, attended Infantry AIT, Airborne School, and Ranger School at Fort Benning. Snake Eyes had extensive training in mountaineering, underwater demolitions, survival in jungle, desert, and Arctic environments, and is qualified on all small arms used by both NATO and Warsaw Pact countries. He became proficient in 12 martial arts, including bladed and edged offensive and defensive weapons. Snake Eyes found himself in Berlin, Cuba, Cyprus, Chile, Laos, and Cambodia in those early days. In the late 1960s and into the 1970s, Snake Eyes was deployed to Southeast Asia where he became Ranger qualified and graduated Recondo School at Nha Trang. From there, he was able to join an elite LRP, that's Long Range Recon Patrol unit, operating deep within Vietnam during the Vietnam War. According to one of his dozens of file cards, his, quote, success was based on his ability to use everything from trees to fog when making himself virtually invisible. This unit included himself, Dickie Saperstein, Ramon Escobedo, Wade Collins, Lonzo Wilkinson, aka Stalker, and Tamisaburo Arashikage, aka Tommy, also known as Storm Shadow. On one of their long-range patrols outside the wire and deep in enemy territory, the unit was ambushed, and both Ramon and Dickie were killed by enemy fire and landmines. Wade was hit too and left for dead, but would later be pulled into Cobra to become a Fred. On the way out to the evac point, as the Huey hovered low, they took on more ground fire from enemy elements. Stalker and Tommy made it to the chopper, but Snake Eyes was hit, and defying a direct order, Tommy went out and rescued Snake Eyes, carrying him back to the medevac helo, which is when Snake Eyes received his discharge from service. Snake Eyes is entitled to wear a Silver Star, Bronze Star, Purple Heart with 2 palms, Army Commendation Medal, Good Conduct, National Defense, RVN Campaign, RVN Service, and RVN Cross of Gallantry, as well as CIB, Airborne Jump Wings, and the Ranger's Shoulder Flash. His experiences in war were horrible, and the trauma of it would leave an indelible mark on the survivors, but it gets worse. Back stateside, Snake Eyes sat with his ruck at the airport for a while, awaiting a reunion with a family he thought was on the way. But instead, he was met by a guy named Clayton Abernathy, who was still an LT at this time, who informed Snake Eyes that his family was killed in a car accident. He was now not only broken, but also alone, except for one person, Tommy. So Snake Eyes ended up heading to Japan to meet with his teammate and battle buddy Tommy, with the promise of joining Tommy's family at their Arashikage compound to train with the ninja clan that was Tommy's namesake. Yes, Arashikage translates to Storm Shadow in English. Both Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow trained under Hardmaster in the ways of the ninja and the ideology of the Arashikage ninja clan, but over the course of their training, Snake Eyes' skills surpassed Storm Shadow's, and Tommy's animosity and jealousy for his friend grew. Partly out of frustration, partly out of jealousy, and partly out of an embarrassment that stemmed from the fact that Snake Eyes was an outsider. Snake Eyes earned the right to wear an Arashikage ninja clan tattoo on his forearm as well. This sigil is derived from the Chinese 98 BCE book called the I Ching, the Book of Changes. It was creator Larry Hama who described this all best during an interview when he said, "I got to the end of ARAH issue 21 and got the idea to use the matching hexagrams bit. I didn't even really know what the connection was between the two characters at the time, but that was the first link. Hexagram 63 of the I Ching is called After Completion. It connotes the instability of perfection because the trigram, Kan, water, strives to move downwards, while the trigram for fire pushes upwards. I actually chose that hexagram because the symmetry made it easier to remember, but the meaning turned out to be synchronistically apt. Jung would have been amused," referring of course to Carl Jung. Indeed, the symbolism is representative of Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes, two opposites that oppose and yet complement each other. Black, white, silence, verbose, good, evil, emotional, stoic, yin-yang, a storm, and a shadow. In a 1998 interview, Larry also said this about Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. Snake Eyes is the damaged other who doesn't fit in. He drags his past around with him like a heavy steamer trunk. That is easy for me to relate to. He's more of the ideal to work towards. At the dojo one fateful night, Hardmaster was training the pair and teaching them breathing techniques when Hardmaster was struck and killed with an arrow that we'd later find out was fired by Zartan. Zartan had stolen an arrow from Storm Shadow, and he wanted to frame Storm Shadow and use it to kill Snake Eyes, but the breathing techniques Hardmaster was teaching them fooled Zartan, and he ended up shooting Hardmaster instead. This tragedy quickly brought the Arashikage clan into chaos. This also goes back to Snake Eyes' family accident. The family in the other car was the family of Cobra Commander, and he'd wanted revenge, hence his reaching out to mercenaries like Firefly and Zartan for the assassination. After this tragedy, Snake Eyes left Japan and headed back to America, and he decided to live in ascetic seclusion and posted up in a cabin in the High Sierra mountain range where he befriended a wolf that he named Timber. However, this wouldn't last very long because a general from SOCOM was looking to put together a new elite counterterrorism task force, and he had Colonel named Clayton Abernathy, codenamed Hawk, recruiting the best of the best. Hawk recruited Stalker to the team, and Stalker recommended his old battle buddy Snake Eyes. Hawk remembered meeting Snake Eyes back at the airport years ago, and so the two of them tracked Snake Eyes down to his cabin where he was recruited to the team. Once again, he had a mission, a reason for being. Once again, Snake Eyes belonged somewhere. Not long after going to the Joes at their top secret pit headquarters, he laid his eyes upon a beauty that took his breath away. He saw Scarlet for the first time ever. He saw her training new recruits in something like Krav Maga when she saw him and saw this mysterious new soldier who was rather intriguing. They sparred for a moment before Scarlet realized that Snake Eyes, with nothing to prove, was letting her win to save her dignity, and they quickly bonded and formed a close relationship with each other. Scarlet caught up with Snake Eyes going off post that night, and they talked, and she saw under that quiet, cool, hard-boiled, mysterious demeanor that underneath that all, there was a small-town boy who missed home and was very, very lonely. A few months later, the team was out on a hostage rescue mission in the desert in the early days of the team when one of the Helo's engines stalled, and the pilots ordered everybody to bail before they crashed. Scarlet got snagged and stuck on some webbing, and instead of jumping out, Snake Eyes went to her to cut her out to save her. But the aviation fuel on the helicopter ignited and exploded in a fiery blast of napalm-like jet fuel that showered Snake Eyes' face with fire and sharp fragments. Snake Eyes' face was horribly burned, and some debris permanently damaged his vocal cords, killing his ability to talk. His face was still on fire when Snake Eyes walked out of the flaming rubble of the helicopter wreckage, carrying Scarlet in his arms. Wild Bill managed to touch down to transport them back to base for medical care, but they'd found Snake Eyes wrapped his head in bandages and wrote them a note with his finger in the sand. CM, Charlie Mike, continue mission. Even wounded so much, Snake Eyes rescued the hostage. After he returned, Snake Eyes could have been discharged with honors or maybe medical separation and full pension, but he decided to stay on with the team. He literally had nothing and no one left except for Scarlet. This new outfit didn't adhere to military rules of appearance. They went more tactical, like with all their beards, except for the ladies, of course. So Snake Eyes decided to don an all-black commando uniform and helmet and combine both his SOF and ninja training into his combat gear and loadout. He did this by using ninjutsu, swords, shurikens, all manner of weaponry, utilizing his hand-to-hand combat, CQB, NATO weaponry, edge weaponry, his E&E skills, his infiltration, demolition, survival, and he's also experienced in herbal medicines. He even pretended to be dead with his mastery of the Sleeping Phoenix technique. All this said, he did favor grenades, his 9mm Uzi SMGs, and his hand-forged katanas. In the real world, Snake Eyes action figures were all black as a cost-saving measure for toy maker Hasbro. They could use less paint if the figure was black, and same with his mask, made for much easier application. Snake Eyes first appeared in comic books with the very first issue of Marvel Comics and Larry Hama's G.I. Joe, a Real American Hero comic book series, called up with the rest of the small roster for Operation Lady Doomsday to rescue Dr. Adele Burkhart from Cobra Commander and the Baroness's forces on an island stronghold controlled by Cobra. Snake Eyes was paired with Scarlet and tasked with knocking out the generator in Cobra's converted Spanish fort. After they blew the generator, they were stuck and had to go after Cobra Commander without any support, and so they charged into his operations room, guns ablaze, to confront Cobra Commander, who was holding Dr. Burkhart at gunpoint as his hostage. But then the rest of the team showed up and they rescued the doctor and blew up the Cobra-controlled fort. The next mission paired Snake Eyes with Scarlet, Stalker, and Breaker for a recon mission in the Arctic, with the secondary mission of recovering missing records from an Arctic research station. They were all pulled off leave, a leave that Snake Eyes was spending in a sensory deprivation isolation tank in a lab in the basement of Columbia University. Up in the Arctic, they ran into some Soviet Quonset huts, which is when Snake Eyes and the team first encountered a mercenary named Quinn. Quinn nearly outsmarted them, but Snake Eyes built an explosive trap on an ice bridge with their skis and some explosives. They struck a deal where Quinn left, but he gave Snake Eyes his skull necklace where he hung the firing pins from the weapons, which allowed Snake Eyes and the team to go confront the Russians on the coast. Snake Eyes was on Overwatch for the mission against Vance Wingfield in his paramilitary terrorist cell, while Hawk and Grunt actually pretended to join the other Wingfield recruits. When Snake Eyes broke into the compound as well, he learned about Vance's nuclear strike plot where he wanted to strike at Russia from the US to bring the world into World War III, and together they were able to stop it and save the world. In issue 10, Snake Eyes was on an infiltration team with Scarlet and Zap to secure the roof of a suspected Cobra stronghold in Midtown Manhattan. They fell, quite literally, into a Cobra trap, which is when the Baroness transformed their prison into a floating airship where they were drugged and later imprisoned in a Cobra brig run by Dr. Venom in Springfield. It was then that Dr. Venom first subjected Snake Eyes to his brainwave scanner, an invasive probing procedure meant to probe Snake Eyes' mind. They were looking for the top secret location of the Joe's pit in his memories, but Snake Eyes' incredible mental control allowed him to overcome anything Venom subjected him to. And to overcome that, Snake Eyes tapped into a technique he learned in Japan called the Way of the Inner Anvil. His breathing and heart rate were slowed down so much that Venom's telemetry read Snake Eyes as flatlined, dead. And thinking him dead, they unstrapped Snake Eyes, but Snake Eyes sprung to life, stole a weapon, and shot his way out of that serpent's lair. He freed Scarlet and Zap, and they hijacked a ship, and then airdropped back into New York and back to safety. Then Snake Eyes, Stalker, Breaker, and Gung Ho were sent to Rio Lindo in the Republic of Sierra Gordo, following up on a lead about some stolen missile chips and that Quinn mercenary again. So in Sierra Gordo, Snake Eyes had a reunion, at gunpoint mind you, with mercenary Quinn. Dr. Venom captured the Joes, and Venom ruthlessly beat Snake Eyes on the skull with the butt of his pistol. They put the Joes in a riverboat to head downriver, but Venom put Snake Eyes back in the warehouse, bound him up with rope, and then set the building on fire. However, Snake Eyes managed to escape, his face on fire once again, before he dove headfirst into the river to quell his inflamed head. He managed to free his teammates, but after Baroness dropped a bunker buster on the location, Snake Eyes became submerged 50 feet down in the river and trapped in the bunker with both Dr. Venom and Quinn, and they all had to call a temporary and yet quite uneasy truce to work together to free themselves and save their lives. But then Snake Eyes and Dr. Venom were captured by a Cobra hit squad, and they were almost shot and killed, but Quinn showed up to save them. The trio managed to steal a World War II-era British Avro Lancaster bomber to fly out of Sierra Gordo, and they crash-landed the massive plane on Miami Beach in Florida and were subsequently arrested. Quinn and Snake Eyes, whom Quinn calls Shadow Man, broke out of a Miami jail and won a pink Cadillac and rode out of town together. Their next stop, Coney Island, New York. On the way, Snake Eyes sent a postcard to his team at the pit about where to find him as they chased down Venom and Scarface. In Coney Island, they forced Scarface to give up Dr. Venom's location, then gave the pink caddy to him and told him to beat it. Snake Eyes and Quinn tracked Dr. Venom to the old Brooklyn Navy Yards, crashing through a skylight to confront the sadistic doctor. But then, surrounded by Cobra, Snake Eyes donned a snake battle armor suit to fight back, but it turned out the suits were still controlled by Dr. Venom, and so Snake Eyes was trapped. When Destro and his platoon showed up, they also put Quinn in a second snake suit and then used them both in their assault on G.I. Joe headquarters. Snake Eyes, with his superior mental control, managed to break free and then freed Quinn, who then attacked Dr. Venom. But Quinn and the Doctor both died while Snake Eyes saved his friends from that same grenade that had taken out Dr. Venom. In the iconic issue 21, Silent Interlude, the famous Silent issue, Storm Shadow captured Scarlet and brought her back to Silent Castle as a prisoner. So Snake Eyes had to infiltrate the castle and rescue her from Cobra. Snake Eyes fought through legions of Cobra Vipers and Red Ninjas to get to Scarlet, although as Snake Eyes dueled with Storm Shadow, it was Scarlet who commandeered a Cobra Claw and flew them out of there. And it was also here that Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow's connections were hinted at to us the reader, not to the characters, as both of their forearm tattoos were revealed. Back at the pit, Snake Eyes and Wild Bill flew Quinn's body out to Montauk Point on Long Island for his send-off. Snake Eyes then visited Gung Ho, who told him that Storm Shadow had the same tattoo as he did. So while the rest of the Joes dealt with Zartan in the Florida Everglades, Snake Eyes traveled to Spanish Harlem in New York to visit with Softmaster, who had a shop there. Softmaster had kept a box of Snake Eyes' personal effects with him all those years, including his medal and a photograph of his twin sister that Snake Eyes had kept in his boonie hat as a good luck charm during the war. Softmaster then caught Snake Eyes up on what he knew of Storm Shadow after Snake Eyes left Japan. That's when Storm Shadow appeared and attacked, and so the two ninja battled each other across New York, through a mall, and taking their combat to the top of a moving train. And that is when Storm Shadow told Snake Eyes that it was not him who killed his uncle, that his arrow was stolen, and he was set up, and that Storm Shadow was working to get the killer somewhere in Cobra's ranks. And with that new information, Snake Eyes ended up letting Storm Shadow go with a renewed understanding. It was then that Snake Eyes decided to take an an unofficial leave, jumping out of a C-130 as Wild Bill flew it over his High Sierra cabin. Hawk also deployed Airborne and Spirit to keep an eye on their teammate. At his cabin, Snake Eyes took the time to relax and reunited with his wolf friend Timber. Snake Eyes picked up on them, camped out a few miles away, and so of course he wasn't surprised when Destro, Fred, and Firefly decided to attack his cabin. Firefly fragged the cabin with a grenade and knocked Snake Eyes out, and when Destro was about to kill the passed out Snake Eyes, Timber attacked Destro to save his friend and teammate. Firefly dropped a satchel charge down the chimney which obliterated the cabin, but Snake Eyes found refuge in an escape pit in the cabin, and then was rescued by his team and an unlikely assist from Softmaster. Still injured, Snake Eyes was then taken to the infirmary back at the pit and put in a bed right next to Airborne. On a relaxing trip on the Staten Island ferry with Scarlet, they were ambushed by a trio of Cobra CGs and ended up having to fight them. And Snake Eyes took off his rubber face mask and scared one CG, Fred, so bad that the CG fell right off the ferry and into the water. After he recovered, Snake Eyes was then on the assault team that went to the Staten Island home of Professor Apple and Ripcord's girlfriend, Candy Apple. Snake Eyes paired up with Mutt and Junkyard to breach the back door of the house, which is when they ran into the Crimson Twins. And later, after a fault line erupted which gave rise to Cobra Island, Snake Eyes and the team on the Whale were some of the first Joes to make landfall on the new landmass, engaging Cobra forces in a DX until Hawk called it off after getting word from higher up to disengage. So back at the pit, Hawk had Snake Eyes and Stalker take him in a Vamp Mark II to see General Austin at the U.S. Army Medical Center in Washington. While Hawk was at the hospital, Stalker and Snake Eyes took the time to visit and pay their respects at the Vietnam Memorial. And at the memorial, they were confronted by the same Fred who'd been following them, who revealed that he used to be Wade Collins. Instead of hauling their old buddy in, they talked and showed him the light and helped him to escape Cobra, something to help him out and give back after they felt bad that they left him for dead in Southeast Asia. And then, after learning who really killed Hardmaster, Snake Eyes went to Storm Shadow, and they teamed up together. They took a claw to a Cobra safe house where they stole Baroness's personal rattler and flew directly to Cobra Island to attack. Together they stormed Cobra Island and assaulted the launch complex there, cutting a bloody swath with katanas and bullets through countless Cobra troopers and Vipers. They got to Zartan, but this was at the time when Zartan and Ripcord had switched places, and Cobra launched Zartan right out of there in a fire bat while he was still unconscious. Snake Eyes and Stormy fought their way off the island, though Storm Shadow was shot and seemingly killed when Baroness shot him and he collapsed in the waves on the shore of Cobra Island. But Snake Eyes was picked up by his team after they found him fighting with a shark. Thinking he was KIA, Snake Eyes was upset and needed to be consoled by Scarlet later at the Fort Wadsworth PX. And then after Ripcord was revealed to actually be Zartan, a rescue mission was put together to head to Springfield, and for that mission, Snake Eyes was on the assault team with Scarlet, Torp, Beachhead, Quick Kick, Rocondo, Leatherneck, and Spirit tasked with cutting off power, comms, and water in town. And later, Storm Shadow showed up, revealing that he was alive and said his revenge quest was over. So Snake Eyes gave Storm Shadow the key to his cabin to go rest and recover and recenter himself. During another Sierra Gordo mission, Snake Eyes mounted Lowlight's Starlight Scope on Leatherneck's M16 M203 after Stalker was shot, and he used it to take out an entire unit of Cobra troopers. But more Cobra troopers responded with a barrage of stun grenades, and they were able to take Snake Eyes in as their captive, but of course, that didn't last for long. After Stalker, Quick Kick, and Snowjob were captured in Barovia and a rescue mission was not on the table, Snake Eyes decided to come up with his own unsanctioned, off-the-books plan. So he and Scarlet went to Grenada on supposed R&R, and on the island, Snake Eyes, Scarlet, and Blindmaster pretended to step on a landmine and die right in front of Flint and Lady J. Not dead, of course, they smuggled themselves through Marseille and onto a train headed farther into Europe to Austria, which is when they joined White Clown's traveling circus as knife throwers, and as part of the circus, they made their way into Barovia. The circus went to the Barovian town right next to the gulag where the Joes were being subjected to forced labor. After a few weeks with the circus, they ended up linking up with Storm Shadow, Billy, Kessler, and Jinx, and together they raided Gulag 23 under the cover of a rainy night and rescued their teammates and headed back for the border. And back home, they were all put on leave for a while. But when leave was over, Snake Eyes joined a small team and went to the W-Land and Darklonia border as the W-Land government was buying G.I. Joe surplus equipment. This, of course, pitted them against Darklon and some of Dr. Mindbender's new Pythonized units. But then back stateside, Snake Eyes, Scarlet, and Jinx joined Storm Shadow at the High Sierra cabin to protect him as Zartan was hunting him down. And there in the woods, they ended up having to fight with a whole group of Red Ninja who turned out to be a remnant cell of the Arashikage clan. Issue 93 is an important issue, as that is the issue where Scarlet took Snake Eyes to the plastic surgeon in Switzerland that also treated the Baroness years ago, and for the first time ever, the man under the mask was revealed. Horribly scarred and disfigured as he was, the doctor called the Baroness, who recognized Snake Eyes as the guy she thought killed her brother in Saigon. When Scarlet learned about the doctor's phone call to the Baroness, she wheeled Snake Eyes out of the medical facility, knowing that Baroness would immediately come to attack them. And indeed she did. Baroness shot Scarlet and then took a bandaged up post-op Snake Eyes back to America and held him captive in the sub-basement of the Cobra Consulate building in New York. Snake Eyes ended up battling with his captors and was winning until one of the Payne brothers threw hot ashes in his face. But still, he took them all down and then donned his mask and his iconic gear once more. Snake Eyes fought back with help from the Joes, who'd gotten intel from Wade Collins about where Snake Eyes was. The consulate building was then on fire, and as he fought back, Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow became trapped on the roof of the consulate building, so the Tomahawk that was transporting the wounded Scarlet flew over to the building to evac them in a crazy barrel roll maneuver. From that point on, Snake Eyes stuck right by Scarlet's side as she laid in a coma in a hospital bed in New York. When Scarlet's sister showed up with a court-martial to terminate her life support, Snake Eyes ripped off his mask and kneeled by her bedside, and at that moment, Snake Eyes spoke. He simply said Scarlet as he held her limp hand and a tear rolled down his cheek. The one and only time he said anything. Storm Shadow then went to the jugglers at the Pentagon and demanded a mission for his buddy, and so Snake Eyes was given a new mission, which was to rescue General Strawhacker, the guy, it turns out, who was to marry Snake Eyes' twin sister many years ago. Not long after, Snake Eyes dropped out of the bomb bay of an F-117 Nighthawk and parachuted back into Barovia. He had a new mission and new orders, and a new way to channel his pain and anguish. In Barovia, Snake Eyes shot and sliced his way through corrupt government elements, aiding the coup d'etat and the uprising led by White Clown in the streets of the Barovian capital. White Clown and Snake Eyes teamed up and shot their way to the Gulag where Strawhacker and Magda were being held captive. Snake Eyes, having been influenced by Storm Shadow, was now a ruthless, unstoppable killing machine, and this unstoppable wraith blasted his way into the Gulag, mowing down countless enemy with his assault rifle, but meanwhile General Crothers had hired Major Blood to assassinate Snake Eyes. Regardless, they rescued Magda and the others, but Strawhacker was shot and killed, which meant Blood's mission against Snake Eyes was over too. At the end of this mission, Snake Eyes rescued a little girl named Marina and took her back to the States, which is when the Collins family ended up adopting Marina. In issue 108, we learned that isolation tank at Columbia University from issue 2 had a secret chamber behind it, where Snake Eyes kept all his weapons and equipment. It was his own private secret armory. It's also where Snake Eyes was keeping Storm Shadow, who'd been stabbed while he was away. Angered, Snake Eyes once again attacked Cobra Commander at the consulate building, and he held a giant knife to Cobra Commander's throat while Stalker ordered them all to get out of town immediately. It was not long after this that Snake Eyes joined the Joe's Ninja Force sub-team. First, they were dropped into Benzine to attack the Emir's palace, where the Saw Viper who'd murdered a bunch of Joes was hanging out celebrating, and they got their revenge. Then Snake Eyes and his new gear landed in a Tomahawk with Hawk and LJ just outside Destro's castle in Scotland. But when Cobra Commander put out a hit order on Destro, he fled with Chuckles and Billy, and it was later up to Snake Eyes and Ninja Force to assist in their rescue. They tracked him through Europe, but some mercenaries caught up with Snake Eyes at the Continental Hotel in Beirut, Lebanon. He made quick work of them, then camped out until the tramp freighter carrying Chuckles, Destro, Zartan, and Billy made landfall on the Beirut waterfront. And they all teamed up to fight the Night Creepers, and then flew to storm the Night Creepers' headquarters and force Cobra Commander to call off his contract on Destro's head. After that, Snake Eyes and Ninja Force then invaded Silent Castle to rescue Destro and the Baroness, who were under threat of a ninja attack. And inside the castle, they battled red ninjas and other ninja like Slice and Dice. But even as they egressed towards a foggy swamp, they ran into more red ninja and continued their fight in the forest outside the castle. Snake Eyes was able to capture the red ninja leader called Red Master. Instead of a ninja battle royale, they agreed to mano-a-mano combat and chose Snake Eyes versus Slice as their champions. Snake Eyes managed to outsmart Slice and won that fight. Firefly then revealed himself and deployed a knockout gas, so he and his zombie ninja were able to take Ninja Force captive, and once again, Snake Eyes was subjected to a brainwave scanner, and he had a tough time penetrating Snake Eyes' mind, but managed to brainwash the ninjas. Firefly hijacked a 747 airliner and hid his brainwashed ninjas under the floor panels as he landed on Cobra Island to take it over while Cobra Commander was away attacking the Joe's pit. Snake Eyes was able to defeat Firefly's programming and freed Storm Shadow, who together turned their wrath on Firefly and his forces. They then got away while Zarmanda's tank column attacked Firefly's faction. Snake Eyes was then on the team that did a night halo jump back onto Cobra Island. That's when they ran into new upgraded Terminator-like bats on the island. They were strong, but Snake Eyes sliced them in half with his sword. As they continued to make their way to Cobra HQ, they continued to find and stab more bats. Snake Eyes made it inside Cobra HQ and battled more of Firefly's red ninja and zombie bats. Snake Eyes sliced his way through them all and found Firefly in a control room. Their fight was brief as Snake Eyes overcame him with an Arashikage mindset move. Not long after this, Snake Eyes found himself on a rooftop next to Storm Shadow's old water tower hideout, surrounded by night creepers when the rest of the ninja force snuck up, but instead of fighting, Storm Shadow said, "Don't interfere, watch and learn." And learn they did as they watched him take out all the night creepers by himself. Around this time, Scarlet was on a deep cover mission where she penetrated Cobra posing as a traitor and was part of the hit squad to take out Hawk at the pit, which is when she ran into Snake Eyes, who looked shocked and saddened to find her on a paralyzer tank with Zarana. Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow dropped in over Silent Castle in Transcarpathia once more to rescue Destro and Baroness, which is when he also ran into Scarlet again while hooked into a stable harness. Snake Eyes then took his blade and shoved it right through Scarlet, who collapsed to the ground as the C-130 took him away and he disappeared into the night. He stabbed her, but he was careful not to pierce her heart. Snake Eyes then invaded the Cobra-controlled town of Millville and the hospital because that's where Scarlet was being treated for her stab wound. And they watched while Dr. Biggles Jones said she knew Scarlet was a double agent. But then they had to fight more night creepers while also trying to support the recon team in town, so they had to pull off the Scarlet scene. Snake Eyes fought his way through countless ninja and vipers and ultimately got his Scarlet back. And reunited, Snake Eyes took her to his High Sierra cabin so they could reconnect. Then Snake Eyes had to go back to Transcarpathia to help Storm Shadow, though it upset Scarlet, who thought his ninja intrigue was a thing of the past as they were trying to begin their new life together. In Transcarpathia, Snake Eyes went into LARP mode, then commandeered a Cobra detonator to assault Cobra Castle, and Snake Eyes found Cobra Commander and shot him in the face with a flechette round, followed by Willie Pete. He then beat the crap out of Cobra Commander, his fist still aglow with burning white-hot phosphorus. Snake Eyes then had to fight a brainwashed Storm Shadow, Baroness, and Billy, and he managed to hold them off long enough for Flint's team to show up and rescue them. And Snake Eyes was with this team for issue 155, which was the last issue before the title ended and the team stood down. And Snake Eyes appeared quite a bit in the Image Devils Do an early IDW series as well, and then once IDW picked up ARAH with the original numbering, Snake Eyes, of course, was a part of the team. And that opened up with Cobra in control of America, having declared martial law and hunting down former Joes. So the team came back together even as more Red Ninjas attacked Snake Eyes, who was still up at his cabin with Scarlet when Hawk found him, as he was putting together a guerrilla team. Snake Eyes and Scarlet then penetrated the storm drains deep under Silent Castle during the pushback on Cobra Commander, making their way inside where they immediately confronted Storm Shadow, and Storm Shadow managed to stab his sword through Snake Eyes' thigh. So Scarlet had to carry Snake Eyes on her shoulders, and she took him with her to the Command Room where they fought Destro, Billy, Baroness, and Cobra Commander. Cobra ended up capturing the injured Snake Eyes while Storm Shadow grabbed and escaped with Scarlet. And it seemed to work because when Snake Eyes woke up, he fought with a couple bats, but then took their weapons and handed the 2 rifles over to Cobra Commander, appearing to be brainwashed. Storm Shadow later left the pit to rescue Snake Eyes, and this was picked up on Cobra's sensors, so they sent brainwashed Snake Eyes and Billy Kessler to intercept him at Stormy's old water tower hideout, and there Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow ended up having another battle, and Stormy was able to get him with the Arashikage mindset and free Snake Eyes of his control. And while they tumbled out of the building, Snake Eyes helped them land safely, and they walked off as brothers of the sword. They then teamed up to free Billy of his control, where Snake Eyes hit him with the Arashikage death touch, but lightly so it was just a stun. The trio found themselves in Brighton Beach where they stumbled upon a Russian sect of the Arashikage. Snake Eyes sparred, but it was cut short as the master extrapolated the outcome in Snake Eyes' favor. They all talked until some revanche blue ninjas rolled up and shot a rocket through the window and blew up the dojo. They were able to shoot and cut up one of the blue ninjas together, but sadly, in this battle, Billy Kessler died. So Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow took Billy's body and brought it back to his father, Cobra Commander, returning his son to him after all this time. And then after learning more details, Stormy and Snake Eyes broke into a Revanche Robotics facility in New Jersey where they confronted a new Cobalt Chimera prototype cyborg. Storm Shadow stabbed it through the eye socket, and then Snake Eyes put a few rounds right through its temple, and the cyborg went down. Scarlet then put them onto Dr. Teachin from Rutgers, and when they went to the doctor's house, they found it full of dead Cobra Vipers. But it was the doing of the doctor herself who turned out to be a nasty cyborg. And it was the Baroness of all people who sniped the cyborg from the doorway, saving Snake Eyes and Stormy. Snake Eyes and the Baroness dropped Storm Shadow off at a hospital, then took her Mercedes to Broca Beach. They had a shaky truce because they both wanted to find Billy's killer. Together, took on an entire town full of blue ninjas led by BN-001. They ended up in a car chase and a fight with BN-001, and they managed to defeat the cyborg leader. Then Snake Eyes and some Joes went to Comic-Con San Diego as the start of the nuclear trigger Krytron device ordeal. After that was over, Scarlet and Snake Eyes went back up to their High Sierra cabin, where it turns out that the Joes had rebuilt Snake Eyes' cabin, so Snake Eyes and Scarlet took time off, enjoying being in nature and off the grid. But after a short while, the local gas station owner saw on the news about the terrorists who had captured Bob Graves down in Sierra Gordo, and so he hiked up to the cabin to tell Snake Eyes and Scarlet. So the two of them went back to Joe headquarters and were there nearly alone when Cobra took the opportunity to take it over while most of the Joes were being away, and they invaded the pit and took it over. They were there for the mech control operation, which resulted in Serpentor escaping and fighting against the Joes. Serpentor took out Roadblock and ripped Snake Eyes' mask off his head. So Duke pulled the pin from a grenade and threw it at Serpentor, but Serpy kicked it back, so Snake Eyes grabbed the grenade and charged towards Serpentor, and both he and Serpentor tumbled over the side of a platform, and the grenade exploded, and both Serpentor and Snake Eyes died in the blast. So the entire team showed up for Snake Eyes' ceremony at the pit, rolling out everything to honor their fallen Joe. Though he said little, Snake Eyes made a huge impact on them all, touching their lives with his selflessness, his bravery, and his loyalty. He was special and he would always be missed by the team. It would then be Sean Collins as Throwdown who would carry on his image, while Dawn Moreno captured some of Snake Eyes' mind in her own. And because of his incredible popularity, Snake Eyes has appeared in all manner of media that G.I. Joe has been in, all iterations of the animated series, all action figure series, and nearly every volume of the comic book series. This includes live-action portrayals by both Henry Golding and Ray Park. Snake Eyes was a mainstay of the G.I. Joe animated world from Sunbow to Deke and beyond. He was in the original miniseries in episodes and events like Revenge of Cobra, Pyramid of Darkness, and countless others, as well as G.I. Joe the Movie, Spy Troops, Valor vs. Venom, and even G.I. Joe Renegades, though as you'd expect, he had no speaking lines. So with that is a wrap on this, my friends, the history and origin and the story of Snake Eyes. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm Jesse, this is JLS Comics, and I'll see you soon.